Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, yes. Yes.
Oh.
That is the word.
Just a wave of exhaustion.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. My name is David Bell.
Oh, that's not my name. My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched The Book of Henry.
The Book
The Book
of
Henry.
The Book.
Oh no, this is gonna be something.
Our legacy isn't how many commas we have in our bank account. It's who we're lucky enough to have in our lives and what we can leave them with.
Henry, remind me again why we can't put you in a gifted school.
Because it's better for my psychosocial development for me to interact with a peer group in a normal school environment.
Oh, yeah.
2017's The Book of Henry.
Okay, so what day is it? Monday.
Yeah.
Was there anything out this weekend? I didn't even check.
Judas and the Black Messiah is still out.
I want to see that.
We should do that at some point.
Yeah, we should do that.
We're getting caught up on some of our We Just Watched classics for the Patreon.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're doing.
While theatrical releases are still kind of pretty slow right now.
Yeah, lukewarm. We'll hit up the biggies. So this is brought to you by brought to you by our Patreon, Harris. I think a new one. Thank you very much, Harris.
Well, thank you, Harris. Because you gave me the ability to watch The Book of Henry. It's a film I've been meaning to watch for 3 years now.
Now, this is a movie by Colin Trevorrow. It was written in the 90s. It was written in like 1998. And apparently he was supposed to direct it, and then he made Jurassic World, and then he directed it between Jurassic World and Jurassic World 2. I've heard rumors that it's why he didn't get a Star Wars, but I don't know if that's true. I think he was just a jerk, right?
I don't know if that's accurate either. But
okay.
Yeah, definitely the rumors, because, Colin Trevorrow was famously attached to do a Star Wars, and then he is no longer doing a Star Wars.
I feel like people know my views on Jurassic World and the general shittiness of getting to do one indie comedy and then getting Jurassic World immediately after, and how that's not how it should work. Well, you should have to prove that you could make a movie like that.
Yeah, like a grand scale action adventure is not the same thing as Safety Not Guaranteed.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so Book of Henry is more like, this seems like the type of movie he would do after Safety Not Guaranteed.
Well,
but
this seems
then
like
it's like what this movie is.
This seems like the I don't want to say tier, but like this seems like the budget movie.
The budget
he should have done after Safety Not Guaranteed.
This movie got terrible reviews.
It did.
And
I think it's currently at a 30 on Metacritic.
Do audiences like it?
I don't know.
Tom, did you like this movie? It's a terrible movie.
This movie is fascinating. It is very bad.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about why it's bad. And I do actually put the blame on Trevorrow more than the writer.
There's a pretty major writing thing that I want to talk about, so that's interesting.
All right. I'm not saying it's well written.
Right.
I wrote down some lines. It's got that I'm really smart writing style.
Yes.
Where it thinks it's extremely smart and it's just not.
Mm-hmm. It's film school shit.
Yes.
Like the dialogue and stuff. I mean, the stuff that's supposed to be like smart, it's film school shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's about a genius kid. God, we're just going to have to go through the plot. Because I think a lot of people haven't watched this movie.
Why would you? Why
sort of know?
Would you have seen the? Okay, so we're going to have to have, at the very least, we're going to have to give the extreme broad strokes of the plot, because the thing that this film is infamous for, if you've heard about this film at all, you've probably heard that it's out of its mind, or that it just it has such a left turn in it.
I would say tonally it's absolutely all over the place all the time. This is why I say I blame the director, because like the first thing, the beginning credits is like jaunty piano music, like a real Good Will Hunting type of opening, where it's like, oh, I'm watching like a heartfelt drama.
Right, it's like the main title theme, and it's not like there's a lot of talent involved in this movie. Like it's what's his name, Michael Giacchino, the composer for The Incredibles,
right,
and Ratatouille.
This is why I'm blaming the director, because the movie presents itself like fucking like Cider House Rules or some shit.
It starts
or an
off
October Sky, where it's like you're gonna go on a heartfelt like Stand By Me type journey. It's like Blueprints, and it's like, oh, he's a quirky inventor kid. But this isn't that. I don't think this was ever supposed to be that. I think this was always supposed to be a thriller.
Okay, so
and it's like they forgot that it was a thriller for the first part of the movie.
They forgot it's a thriller for an hour and 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the plot of the movie. Is you got single mom Naomi Watts with her two boys, Henry and Peter. And Henry's 11, Peter's, I don't know, 8, 7, like several years younger than Henry.
And Henry's a real smart kid.
Henry's a genius, baby.
Yeah.
He handles all of their finances. Like
the school does.
Go ahead.
His class does the assignment of talk about your legacy. You know, as a school assignment would be.
As a school assignment for 11-year-olds would be.
And that's what I mean. That it's a badly written movie.
And he shows up and he says something like, "I just want to do what I can while I'm on this side of the dirt." And I'm like, nobody fucking talks like that.
He says about legacy, isn't it just comfort food to stave off existential crisis? And so it's lines like that where it's like, come the fuck on. Calm down, movie.
Yeah. So,
the part where Sarah Silverman... Oh, God. Okay, sorry. You're explaining the plot. Yeah.
I'm trying to get through the plot.
I know.
Okay, so Henry's a genius. Like, he's basically the parent. Like, the mom... She works at a diner and plays lots of Gears of War. Like, he takes care of everything. Like, she defers to him on everything. He takes care of the finances.
Yeah. She is helpless.
She is helpless, yeah. And
like all adults, and like I think all the female characters, helpless.
The main object of the film's like sympathy and action, the next door neighbor, little girl.
Yeah.
She has about 4 lines.
She has no agency. At the very end, and we'll get to like when she's just like, everything's all right, and it's like, no, it's not. We'll get to it.
It's a real face-off ending. It's like, hey, I brought home a kid. Yeah,
she has that character has no personality.
No, she is she's a prop.
Yes, she is a prop.
So like Henry invests in stocks, like he's done so well with investments that she doesn't even need to work. She just does, and the movie doesn't explore that at all. Why she works.
No, I have why she works. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Henry notices that this neighbor girl that he has a crush on is being sexually abused by her stepfather, who is Hank from Breaking Bad.
Dean Norris. Yeah.
Dean Norris.
Yeah, playing the role he's born to play, which is aggressive cop.
Aggressive cop. Yeah, he's always some sort of aggressive authority figure.
Yeah.
So he's tried, and we learn that he's tried several times to report it to the school and report it to CPS, and he just keeps getting railroaded because Dean Norris is the police commissioner. His brother is like a big wheel within the system. So basically every attempt to have the authorities come in and intervene just gets squashed because he's such a powerful figure.
Yeah.
Henry... So we see him, he's planning something. He's making extended, and this, okay.
He loves his Rube Goldberg machines,
he's an inventor. He loves, Dave, We have to get through this, but I cannot wait to scream at the top of my lungs about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So we see that he's an inventor. Like we said, like the opening credit sequence is like this whimsical tour through one of his sketchbooks. It's like very Da Vinci. Like he sketches out these fanciful inventions. We see that he builds them. He wins a lot of awards for being a young engineer. So we see that he's designing some contraption that we can tell, like nobody ever explicitly says this, but you can tell that he's building something to try to save her, basically.
Right.
Or he's planning something.
He's planning something. He's not building anything.
We're gonna get to that.
Okay, because they introduce this kid as like he makes crazy contraptions. He's Rick Moranis in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. That's not at all what comes into play.
It doesn't affect the plot in any way.
Nope.
Makes you wonder why he's even a genius.
Yep.
So Henry very suddenly gets brain cancer and dies.
He sure does. It's the halfway point of the movie.
At like the 40-minute mark.
Yeah.
Like at the 40-minute mark, he has a seizure. They have to take him to the hospital. And the next 20 minutes of the movie, the movie stops so we can watch Henry die for 20 minutes, basically. It's agonizing.
If you can't tell from our tone, it doesn't do a good job at making you feel anything. So, like, when he died, I was just like, yeah, let's get some more dead kids in here. I don't give a fuck. Like, it was just
I thought his actual death was effective because of the performances, not because of anything.
Yeah, I was about to say, the performances are fine. They're all good.
Yeah,
but the movie is so... It's trying to make you feel so many things that it's like, no, I'm not going to feel this for you, movie. You're not doing the work.
What I kept thinking of more, and we're not even done with the plot yet, but I'll get back to it. But this is related. What I kept thinking of watching this movie, more so than this is a bad movie, is this feels like a bad novel because it tries to cram in so much.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of things keep
right. It's like reading a book that's a little too long and is really meandering. Like I kept
Here's
getting
the thing.
This is a bad novel.
Without getting too much into it, I suspect this, since this was written in the 90s, I suspect a lot of producers had notes and they forgot how to simplify things, and it just kept adding stuff. Because, for example, all Henry needs to do is die. That's all he needs to do in this scene, right? Mm-hmm. But the movie comes to a screeching halt so that we can have this subplot with the brain tumor and spend 15, 20 minutes at the hospital.
Right.
All they needed to do was hit him with a car. My girl his ass. That's all the movie needed to do, is just eliminate him. Well, he just needed to die. He didn't need a brain tumor.
I tell you why they did that, because I had that thought too. They wanted to have the aspect of Naomi Watts listening to the tape recording and trying to follow his instructions, because he wouldn't have left instructions for her unless he knew he was dying.
Here's a question though, Tom, because when did he make that tape recording? They
very clumsily show us him sneaking out and making it while his head is wrapped, so we know he did it.
Really?
Yes.
So
we know.
Second.
The movie is trying to tell us that he snuck out of the hospital.
He snuck out of the hospital? Mm-hmm. They show him sneak out of the hospital? I guess I missed that. That is absolutely out of its fucking mind.
Yeah.
And again, you're right. But again, they could have figured out a way to deal with this. They could have had him sick at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He could have just been like a bed sick kid. It just felt like they kept putting pieces on top of pieces, and we'll get to other signs of that.
There's another, you could have even, all they needed to do was, because they do this thing where like Henry's talking to his doctor, who is fucking Lee Pace.
Yeah.
Fucking Thranduil, Ronan the Accuser. He's talking to his doctor, and he keeps like interrupting him with what the prognosis is. It's basically he's telling him he's got inoperable brain cancer.
Yeah.
they could have, like, and he's like, oh, I should have thought about that. I don't know why I take these headaches more seriously, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, no, if he's, like, if you're going to lean on him being a genius, just, like, a very simple way to solve this problem is to just have him already suspect that he's dying of cancer. So that he starts
and leave
he
something.
starts to make these preparations, and then when it finally happens, he's already done all of it because it's what he was suspecting because he's a genius. And that way you don't need to cram in the wholly unbelievable sequence of him sneaking out and then making these preparations. It's like there's no way an 11-year-old boy who just had
snuck out of the fucking hospital,
who just had brain surgery. Yeah. Like they take some of the cancer out, they just can't get all of it because it's spread too much. So he has had brain surgery. He's not going to be like light on his feet. But anyway, okay, so he dies. He tells I was going to say something about why I thought like his actual death was got a little bit of emotion out of me.
Well, it's like you said, it is a well done scene.
Well, they did,
but I wouldn't let this movie make me feel anything because it just didn't earn it.
That's fair.
So like
that's fair.
When it's like the Dean Norris and his daughter scenes and the kid with brain cancer, it was just like this. You're not doing the work. I refuse to feel for this. Mm-hmm. Kill all the kids. I want a Zamboni to drive into this movie and plow down all the kids.
Murder all these children. Okay.
Yeah, I don't care, movie.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying. There was an effectiveness in the performances in that scene, for sure.
And the decision, and I'm not sure if it was in the script or if it was something the actor decided to do, because he's not bad. He played, he was in It. He's been in a few things.
Yeah. That kid's good. He's fine.
Like, he gets out of bed and tries desperately, he just wants to see the sky before he dies.
Yeah.
And then he starts just calling out mommy. So it's like in the instance before his death, he's not the genius anymore. He's just an 11-year-old boy. That's the correct instinct. I'll say. I'll give the movie that.
Sure.
Anyway.
I mean, this is anyway. I would say I think I said out loud I felt bad for the child actors in this because they don't know. They're doing their best. They're doing these scenes where they're crying and they have to deal with these emotions, and it's like, oh God. But it's for a terrible script.
For a terrible movie. And it's like, that's hard to do when you're an adult. So if you're having these little kids try to do these emotional scenes, I'm like, well, I don't quite have this emotional capacity yet, but I'm doing my best, doggone it. And it's for the Book of Henry.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm going to say at the top of this, like, the way I'd fix this movie is not make it. Like, if someone gave me this script, I'd say, well, this is a good try. Let's do a new script, shall we? Like, that would be the advice I'd give about this movie.
I think there's two major. Okay, we'll get to it. All right.
All right, we'll get to it. All right. Let's go through
the story. So Henry dies, but before he dies, he tells his little brother, "You got to make sure Mom reads my red journal, and just Mom, not you. You should read it. The Book of Henry, the titular Book of Henry." So she reads it, and it contains an elaborate plan to kill Dean Norris.
Yes.
Because
you say elaborate, but like,
well, we'll get into up until this point, we have every reason to believe it is an elaborate plan. Because we see that
he's going to fucking Rube Goldberg his ass.
We see that he builds machines. We saw that he's drawing like a lot of schematics and illustrations and stuff in this red journal with a lot of instructions.
He does go to the gun store and learn the magic word Dominic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, she follows the plan because she quickly also realizes that trying to do anything through official channels has been useless up to this point. So she goes through his journal, is listening to this tape recording he made for her that's like getting her through step by step to take Dean Norris out. She decides against it at the very last minute and instead just tells Dean Norris, "Look, I know what you've done. I saw you do it. Henry saw you do it. He's been documenting it for months. I'm going to do it's like, I know you're protected, but I'm going to do whatever I have to do. I'll go to the press. I'll go to the FBI. I'll make sure you don't get away from this." And
well, she does that at the end. That's what she says.
She ultimately decides not. She goes through all the steps of the plan,
Yeah. You're really glossing over what the steps of the plan
because I want to scream about it.
Okay.
But she goes through the plan, decides not to do it. It basically just, instead of killing him, she just tells Dean Norris, I'm going to get you. He goes home and shoots himself.
Well, you're skipping some stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why he shoots himself, because he does get found out because the principal is so moved by the girl's ballet that she decides to call the cops.
Right.
The thing that you skipped was Henry at the beginning keeps going to the principal and being like, yeah, this guy is obviously abusing his daughter. The principal is like, nah, we're not going to do anything about that. Then she sees the girl do ballet and says, I should probably call the cops.
Right. It's so dumb. Like, she's like, well, we've done it before and they didn't find anything, and I'm not going to be held responsible for harassing a student. And then, like, she watches her do ballet. She's like, she is being molested.
Yeah.
It's so
And I want
dumb.
to talk about why I think that happened in this script. But yeah. Anyway, Dean Norris hears the cops coming and blows his head off.
Really Cromwell's out of this movie.
Really Cromwell's right out of the movie. And then that's like at the end when the mother adopts the girl and just moves her into the house next to the house where her stepfather blew his head off after abusing her for years.
Yep.
And she's just in bed like, yeah, I'm good.
Yep. Doesn't say
like, no, you are not.
Doesn't say a word.
Yeah.
She says maybe 16 words in this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, the movie does a victory lap at the end with the narration where he goes, sometimes a good story will remind you of who you want to be.
I busted out laughing. Because
it's amazing.
Like, no joke.
Movie just pat itself on the back.
The narration comes in with good, like, there are a lot of good stories out there. It's like, oh shit, this is not one of them.
Really, yeah, they were really like, bet you thought that was incredible, huh, audience?
Yeah.
Like, they really thought that they had just slam dunked. It's fucking wild.
It's incredible.
Because of what... All right, so we should talk about how she's going to kill Dean Norris.
Okay, this is the major thing. And then there's a second thing that I don't necessarily want to scream about it, but I want to scream about it.
I think there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so the core premise of the movie is Genius Boy, right? Genius Boy is devising this plan to rescue his neighbor. But then he dies... So his mom has to do it for him using his notes. Okay, so the Genius Boy inventor, his plan for getting rid of Dean Norris is to buy a gun and shoot him.
Yes, that's it.
It's
to go to a gun store, say Dominic sent me. And the gun store, the gun store guy has no agency too. He's just like, oh well.
Oh, I guess I'll
if you say the word Dominic, not making any.
It's for Dominic.
Not making any phone calls.
I'm going to sell you a sniper rifle with a night vision scope, and anyway.
And his mother has so little agency and is such an dysfunctional human being where she's that scene where he's in the hospital and the doctor's like, you have to sign this, and she's like, but I can't, I have to ask Henry, and it's like, what the fuck happened to this family? And she shakily signs it. So she just does everything her son tells her.
Yes.
And buys the gun and starts carrying out starts doing assassin training. While her son's in her ear podcasting her through how to murder Dean Norris.
Yeah.
It's a whole section of the movie.
Yep. I don't mind the aspect of, I think the movie maybe began with that idea of a mom with a genius son who can't take care of herself. Like, she forgot how to be an adult, then the son dies and she's like, I don't know what to do.
But it's so over the top.
It's over the top. And I want
to talk about why that's a failure of directing, but we're still on the gun.
This is one of two major writing, but since you're going to come down on the directing, from the writing standpoint, the fact that we harp so much on the idea that he's this boy genius who is this genius inventor, and we see him drawing all these schematics, and then they just show us that his plan is to buy a gun and shoot him.
Yeah, I think that what they wanted to happen was the implication of Rube Goldberg is that everybody's a cog in his machine. but it's just him telling his mom
It's
to buy
just
a
him
gun.
telling his mom to buy a gun and shoot him. Like, if they had
if there
revealed
was some reveal
that there were a bunch of, like, I thought for a second that's what it was going to be, like something, like he told his brother to do something that seems inconsequential, but it was going to line up with what he was telling his mom to do. But that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, his plan was to just have her buy a gun and shoot Dean Norris.
Yeah. We haven't talked about why she didn't shoot Dean Norris. It's because a Rube Goldberg machine goes off in the treehouse as she's about to. She makes. All right. So Dean Norris is like an Assassin's Creed NPC. She makes like whistling sounds and he just wanders into the woods.
Yeah. How many times
to follow them?
It's there's the dumbness. The dumbness of it is twofold. Like, one, he hears this whistling and it's like
he gets out his gun.
It's distant. So it's like, you'd hear it and you'd be like, well, that's some kids or something. Like, It's not inside his house. It's like down the street in the woods.
Yeah.
So he goes to invest. Not only does he go to investigate this whistle, but yes, like you said, he brings his gun.
Yeah.
Dude,
and it's like, what is going on?
You live in a suburban neighborhood. It's like 6:30 at night. That's probably kids or like somebody whistling for their dog. Why are you bringing a gun, man?
Yeah, what is going on?
What kind
and then
of
he stands
maniac?
out there. He stands out there for like 10 minutes.
Like
is
looking
somebody
around.
here? What's going on?
He might as well have a question mark above his head.
Yeah.
Like, he's just looking around for like an interminable amount of time.
And so and again, these are like, that's like failures of directing, right? This is all like, there's better ways of doing these scenes.
That's also, there's also it's
not great writing.
It's not great writing because why the fuck would he go out there?
Yeah. And so she's sitting there aiming in the treehouse and she triggers his Rube Goldberg machine that does this elaborate Rube Goldberg machine that flips baby photos in front of her of him as a kid. And she says something like, I can't do it. You're just a kid or something like that. And it was like, oh my God. I think in the original script, she shot him. I think that's one of the things, the sweaty ass changes to this movie.
Maybe.
Because the principal subplot, I think what happened was a producer was like, she can't shoot him. That's dark. And then someone else was like, but he still needs to die.
Yeah.
Because it's that feeling. So they're like, how does he do it? Well, maybe he blows his head off. Why does he blow his head off? Maybe the cops are called. Why are the cops called? I don't know. The principal does it. Why would the principal do it? I don't know. Like, she sees the girl do ballet. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like it was shoehorned in at the last minute, which is why it's so fucking dumb.
Right, because the principal is not a character. We see her in one earlier scene when Henry goes in and is you need to call somebody. And she's like, I can't call anybody.
And I really can't stress enough how it's because she sees her do ballet. Like, they're showing her do ballet. The principal looks really touched and then calls the cops about a thing she apparently already knew. This movie has a weird theme of like, what's your legacy? What's your talent? That doesn't go anywhere. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's tied into it.
I mean, yeah, that's part of it. There's something about like neither Peter nor the mom, it's Naomi Watts. I can't remember what her character's name is. They both, they depended so much on him that they're kind of lost and they sort of like, there's something in there about you don't have to be the best to be worth something.
Right. It's all lost.
Yeah, it definitely got lost. Yeah.
What's the second writing thing? The big writing thing?
Henry should have been much older.
Yeah.
I get why it happened, but like if you're coming at this, let me try to get this out as best I can. But like if you're coming at this story from the idea of this family has a genius son and they're so dependent on him that when he dies, the mom does not know what to do. Like she doesn't know how to take care of herself and she doesn't know how to take care of the younger brother. I think that's like an interesting idea. And I think for that version of this idea to work, Henry needed to be like 16, 17. Because it's simply not believable for him to be doing the things he's doing, like managing their finances. to just have the knowledge that he has, he needs to be older. Like, you can't do that as an 11-year-old. You can't be on, like, the scene with him on the phone with the stockbroker is absurd. For a lot of reasons, but just from a stone cold logic reason, there's no way a broker would be listening to an 11-year-old. Like, even if he'd gotten instructions, like the mom was like, listen, I've given him, power of attorney over all of our finances. You have to listen to what he says. The broker's going to be like, I'm not doing a thing this child says, because if I make a bad investment based on something your 11-year-old says, all you need to do is tell somebody that that's what I did, and I lose my license.
Absolutely.
So there's no fucking way an 11-year-old would be able to run things like this. So Henry needed to be older. But
I think that's a directing failure too. I would say
it's producer. I'm sure this came down to like notes, but like they also wanted to have the aspect of him, of the boy genius inventor, even though that wound up not mattering at all.
Not at all. Again, that's why it really feels like this was written and it was probably meant to be a certain. Again, I'm not saying that, I'm not defending the writer, but like it clearly was meant to be a certain tone. And I wonder if it was supposed to be like a movie that came to mind was Nurse Betty. Like, I wonder if it was supposed to be like dark, weird comedy or thriller.
Fuck, I forgot about Nurse Betty.
Everybody forgot about Nurse Betty. It certainly wasn't supposed to be a heartfelt comedy.
No. That
turns into a thriller suddenly. Like, all right. And I guess this is what there's a scene, a terrible scene with Sarah Silverman. Mm-hmm. There's a few, like the one where she kisses him on the mouth and they admit that they both have an attraction to each other.
No, that they have
weird. I feel like this is supposed to be like he had a crush on her, and it's just an awkward, weird scene. But it's supposed to be that they keep giving each other shit, and it's because Henry has kind of a crush on her, and they have a bit going. But like, it's one of those things where they don't have to sit down then and explain that to each other, and yet they do.
No, we get it. Like, you pick on people when you're fond of them, and that came across.
And then she gives him a romantic ass kiss, and then it's just like, all right, bye, Sarah Silverman. Sorry you had to be in this.
Yep.
No, the scene I was thinking of is when she comes home with her, and she says, I've had a hell of a day, and Sheila and I are just going to hang out a little, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a long beat, and she's walking, and Henry turns to his brother and says, they're going to get so drunk right now, which is such an awkward line. And he says it in this like weird flat shot, and then they cut, they again, another beat, and she sticks her, like a sitcom, sticks her head out and goes, I heard that. And then they stick on that like they're like the audience is laughing their asses off.
Mm-hmm.
And then they cut to them being drunk.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's sequences like that where I feel like in the script that might have been like a sequence of events that's supposed to be thrown away. Like her just saying, I heard that, walking out, cutting, like a really quick moment, and they stretch it out like it's this big funny scene. And I feel like a lot of the quirky funny shit in the writer's mind was supposed to be like quick throwaway moments, where the movie was supposed to be presented more like as a serious, either as like a weird comedy or as a like, again, a thriller. But they painted it with the music and the credits and like they just went completely the wrong direction tonally.
I have about that specifically because they keep circling the idea that Sarah Silverman is an alcoholic and they just drink a lot together.
They don't do anything with it.
I think in the original version, Naomi Watts was actually the alcoholic.
Probably, yeah.
Because they circle that idea, and it would play more into the idea of her being completely helpless when Henry's gone. She doesn't know how to take care of herself.
Right. And you're right,
I
because
think
the other tonal thing is then when she has this breakdown, it feels like she should have lost her mind more there. Again, like, I think what they were trying to make us do is like she's so grieving that her kid died that she gloms on to this book and this tape recorder, but it really doesn't feel like that. They have a moment where she's like, let's make dessert all week. But it's both in the tone of the movie, the performance, which again, they're doing as good as they can, but it's up to the director to change it where it's like, it just should have felt more rock bottom, that she's more out of her mind, and that she's like, I think that's what they meant to do, is like she spirals.
Yeah.
And goes on this weird, it's too much emphasis on Henry and his genius and stuff, where it feels like it should have been more about her and her hitting this rock bottom and doing this assassination and then coming out of it at the last minute, I think is what they were trying to emphasize, and they didn't.
I think the better version, and maybe this is what it was originally, was she has this, you know, in like I said, he should have been older. So she has this, let's say, older teenage son, 16, 17-year-old, who is a genius and does take care of everything for her because, you know, she's an alcoholic and she just plays video games and works a job for some reason, even though they're rich, thanks to all their investments.
We'll circle back, but I think the video games are a rewrite as well.
Yeah, it's to plant the idea that she can shoot a gun.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
That's it.
And that's
the only reason it's there.
Exactly, and that plays into how incredibly clueless the producers and the people making this are.
I mean,
where they thought that's what they needed to do.
You could also argue that it was also meant to show that she. I mean, it's pretty heavy-handed throughout, but like she's not the parent.
Yes, but like that specific, the video games, because it serves no purpose, and it was like, why are they doing this? She says, what does she say? I'm just about to level up on these motherfuckers.
Yep.
Which is not something who plays video games says. So it reeked of old person. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, how will she know how to shoot? Well, show her playing a shooting game.
Exactly. And I feel like there's a lot of those notes in this where they like the writer just didn't do the work. They were just compounding notes, and so they just kept adding ingredients that amounted. It's like making a soup, and you just keep throwing stuff in, and then it's like, this is disgusting.
So, like, he dies. She finds the thing and finds out that he had this plan to try to save their neighbor because nothing he was doing works. He's like, all right, I'm going to kill this neighbor. So she's like, I've got to. This is his legacy. This is the last thing he wanted to do. I got to carry this out. And like, she should. If you were making like a good movie, like the way she snapped, she would still snap out of it by realizing, why am I taking, like, I am about to murder somebody because a child is telling me to. Like she would have still snapped out of it by having that, but like by having that realization. But that realization should have come about by both her and Peter realizing that Henry is not infallible and that they can live good, ordered, responsible lives without him. Like they are capable of doing that. Because like they have a scene where the little brother is like, it should have been me, and then they have to have that conversation where she's like, it just because Henry was a genius doesn't mean you're less special to me. And then they have another scene where they're going through his book, and she's like, well, we have to be able to call the cops or something. There has to be something. And then the little brother's like, something Henry didn't think of. And they just never go back to that idea. So like they finish the movie with Henry still being an infallible genius, and our lives are demonstrably worse without him, where it's like, that's like such a, you forgot to do the work that would restore the character of the mom and the little brother. Like we need to know that they're going to be all right without him. And it's like, the way you do that is by showing, oh wait, there was something like having her realize like, oh, he was a child, so that's probably why he wasn't able to get very far.
All right. Tom, you say showing, and that doesn't work because everybody in this movie just says what they're feeling.
I know.
So I'm sorry, that doesn't align with the style of this movie, which is people saying out loud what they're thinking. Mm-hmm. That's how we know she can't do anything without Henry, because when he's on his deathbed, she says, "What am I gonna do without you? I don't know how to be a mother." Because it's just people saying the things.
It's like, yeah, we got it. Like we understand that's what you're going for. Yeah, like it's so heavy-handed.
You are right that the core concept works, but they don't do it by making Henry smart enough. They do it by making the adults dumb.
Yes.
And that's the problem, is that it doesn't feel like a world that exists because the adults are so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
That it again, like I couldn't feel anything. because it felt like a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, shit.
And then we got to talk about Peter, the little brother's magic trick at the end.
Oh my God, the magic trick!
Where he's like, I'm going to bring my brother back in front of all with you. He's going to be in here with us. And
that's an amazing moment because everybody in the audience is like, oh shit.
Like, oh fuck, do we clap? And then like he opens the chest and nothing happens. And so you could see some people in the audience like, do I clap now? Like, is his brother supposed to be there but invisible? I don't know what he's going for. Is it like one of those, my brother is inside of us all things? I don't know if I'm clapping now.
Yeah.
And then, like, he just gets confetti to drop on them all from the ceiling, which is a reference to a scene that nobody in that auditorium witnessed.
Yeah. Well, okay, and everybody's like, "Wah," because that's actually it's a David Copperfield trick, is what he's doing, by the way, where he makes it snow inside.
Mm-hmm.
I know that because I saw David Copperfield as a kid during a blizzard, and then he did his snow trick, and no one was into it. Because it was just a fucking nightmare outside, and he was talking about the magic of snow. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a neat trick. It's like soap, like weird soap snow. But shit, what was I getting to?
I don't know.
Is this was what I was getting to. Is that I feel like this was another producer note, which is that the boy needed an arc. So because that montage where Henry is like, "I'll cheer you up." And they do like a rushed montage of him making it snow.
Mm-hmm.
And then for this magic trick, those are the only 2 points of that arc, right?
Yep.
And ultimately, this character is meaningless, right?
Yes,
the little boy.
You could have cut him out of the movie.
You could have cut him out of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but it would have been great if he dragged Henry's body out of that trunk.
Yeah.
If he just dug up his brother.
His fucking rotten-ass brother.
Yeah. But what... All right, so what was your anger at the magic trick is just that no one had seen it, right?
It's referencing a scene that nobody witnessed.
Yeah.
So like it starts to it's everybody stands up and just like raucous applause.
They're so into it.
But like you wouldn't know what that meant if you were sitting there. Like you're all of a sudden get this white shit starts falling from the ceilings. Like guaranteed one of those people would be like, is he dumping Henry's fucking ashes on us?
You're right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Because I do think that people would just be relieved that something happened.
Right, yeah. So they're just clapping like, oh, Christ, I didn't know what to say to this fucking kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the fact
but you're
that
right. It does look like he might have sprayed the audience with Henry's ashes.
Yeah.
And that would be amazing if he did.
And like he keeps looking around for his mom and then finally she shows up, but it's like your mom wasn't there. It's just him and Henry in that scene.
Yeah.
Nobody else understands the significance of this.
Again, this movie could have been one of 3 things, I think. The first draft, I think, it was either a dark comedy, a thriller, or a like drama. And somewhere down the line, they kept adding elements because stuff like the little brother, I could see a relationship being there in the original script, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it falling away as they added like this weird thriller aspect.
Yeah.
It's hats on hats on hats. And so it's like, I'm trying to figure out what the original hat was, I guess. Like, what was the original goddamn gimmick they were going with?
I assume it's genius son takes care of mom, but dies. She doesn't know what to do. Follows instructions in his book to right a wrong.
I could see that.
I think the little brother was added. If not, like I think the reason the little brother is in it is so that we can see that he's also like literally a parent in addition to like parenting his mom.
Right.
Because he's also like literally Peter's parent.
Right.
That's the only reason that character exists, because they don't do shit with him.
They don't do anything with him.
He just doesn't fucking matter. But
no,
I think
there's so many characters that don't matter in this.
Yeah.
That are just
so much so that, like, as we said, the little girl that is the focus of this mission barely even speaks. Like, she's not even a character. So it's like,
no, she's barely. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, obviously we care because this is a horrible crime that nobody should go through. But like, that's all they give us is just like, well, you know, like the worst thing you can imagine. Okay, that's what's going on. All right. It's like, yeah, but we don't even get to like.
No, it doesn't matter. She's
they
just needed a crime.
Exactly. They don't bother to make her a character. So it's like,
yeah,
all right.
You remember the scene where she's walking around town and he's telling her real-time instructions on going to ATMs and buying guns? Like, that means he walked it. He did that, right? Or
with his head wrapped.
Right. He snuck out of the hospital. How long was he out of the hospital doing that?
I don't know.
Because he literally is like, all right, you go down here, now go here. No, not here, not your other right. Like, he's saying, like, they do these gags where it's like real-time corrections. Why did they think that was a good idea?
I don't know. It also, the your other right thing was also like, okay, like we already understand at this point that like she can't really take care of herself, but like,
but again, it's
no adult woman.
And it's not just her again; it's her and every adult.
Yeah,
Sarah
like
Silverman
everybody
seems just as lost.
Right, like everybody's so dumb. Like, there's no way a fucking grown-up doesn't know which way right is. Right?
Yep.
Like, it's like it was like asking us to believe that she's like so stupid or like so helpless.
I mean, I know people who have that issue, but it's compounding on top of everything.
Right. It's more of there is a legitimate issue where it's like a brain thing where it's sort of like dyslexia where you can't quite get it right. But that's clearly not what this movie was intending.
I definitely think you're right that
it was just like she's dumb or hasn't had to do anything on her own for so long.
Right. I think you're right that the Sarah Silverman thing was originally part of her, right?
Probably,
but then why keep Sarah Silverman with her passing out in the front yard? Like, why have that at all then?
Don't know. If you've noticed, her character doesn't serve any point either.
No, it's pointless.
You could remove everything from the diner from the film. Like, because the mom doesn't need to work. I don't know why she works.
Honestly, all right, so this is when it feels like it was like a bet where it's like you can't cut anything out of your script. So like it feels like there's entire chunks for just simple exposition. Like Sarah Silverman, there's the part where she finds her passed out, and I wrote down the line, "Let me guess, drinking away the memories of that ex who left you in the lurch with two young boys?" And she goes, "No, that was you." And I think that they just needed to get that out, that, oh, that's where Henry's dad is. Right? And I think they didn't know how to do that. And it's the same with the diner, is I think they needed to know, like, someone was like, well, how can she afford the gun? Like, I seriously think it started with that. And they were like, I don't know, maybe they have money. And it's like, but then why aren't they rich? And it's like, I don't know, maybe Henry is doing like stock markets. And she's like still working. Like, it feels like that the diner, Sarah Silverman, all that were like these chunks that ultimately just serve brief sentences of exposition that probably had more importance in earlier drafts. And they didn't just get rid of them and find new ways to say those things.
Here's what I think.
Okay.
I think, yeah, definitely Sarah Silverman's character used to just be Naomi Watts, and they created that character so that they could roll like the alcoholism into her. I think the diner exists, and the idea that Naomi Watts goes to work at this diner for no obvious reason, because they probably got a note being like, oh, the mom's not likable. All she does is sit at home and drink and play video games. And the writer in this scenario, the writer would be like, well, yeah, that's the point. She like can't, she's basically, she's a man child. She's an adult baby. Like, she doesn't know how to take care of herself.
Yeah.
So like, well, what if she goes to work anyway, just so like we can be on her side for like trying to support her kids? And it's like, all right, well, let's just have her go work at this shit job. And then, if she's an alcoholic, it'll give people trouble liking her. Okay, let's say her coworker's an alcoholic.
Right, but they still had to have it in. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Tommy Wiseau's The Room. Because I feel like one of the things about The Room is that Tommy Wiseau, this has always been my theory, is that he wanted to get across certain ideas and didn't understand that like you can't just spread them out to every character. So like I think they wanted the idea of alcoholism in this script. And like I think there's a level of like adults are disappointing him.
Yes.
and showing the ways adults are dysfunctional.
Yes.
And so they had it in their mind like, we got to have alcoholism in here. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make any sense ultimately for the story. And I feel like that way with like in the room, if you remember the mom who's like, I definitely have breast cancer.
Yep.
Like those random moments that I feel like were also that. It's like them wanting to have these themes, but not understanding that the themes have to tie into the story. And that's what that felt like. It's like, we want to talk about alcoholism, but we can't actually fit it in. I don't know, just have a side character who has a drinking problem. There, we're done. And then ultimately that character has no purpose. All right, going back to the Rube Goldberg idea, that's what it feels like, right? Is that the movie is introducing a bunch of characters that are going to be pieces of the larger machine that is whatever Henry's plan is. And then none of that happens.
Correct.
And I don't know if maybe that's why all those characters existed. Going back to the idea of like this being a dark comedy, like I wonder if there was a version of this where it's all like Rube Goldberg machine, where it like a Guy Ritchie type situation. You know what I mean? Where like this causes this.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of more quirky. Like I guess. And again, this is why I keep saying it's a failure of the director, is I can't figure out what fucking tone this movie is.
It's impossible.
And the first thing the director needed to do is look at this script and say, this is what kind of tone I'm going for. And I don't know. It's fascinating that there's literally scenes where it feels like a Ashley Judd 90s thriller, like the Dean Norris stuff. And she's got the fucking scope out and stuff.
Yep.
And then there's scenes that feel like fucking Good Will Hunting. That's wild. And so I assume
then there's scenes that feel like Radio Flyer.
yeah. There's some Radio Flyer shit. Yeah. I really think it's a writer who had a very specific idea in mind. Whether or not that was good, whether or not they're good at writing dialogue, I think it got spent decades with producers giving notes until it became this Frankenstein. And then it was handed to a director who didn't quite know what to do with it, or didn't care to know, who was just like going from one Jurassic World to the next. And they just like shot it as it was on the page.
Yeah, there's no vision here. Like,
there's no vision.
Like he films her leaving. He films her. I remember this stuck out in my mind like a fucking lawn dart just planted in my brain. She leaves the talent show. He shoots her leaving the talent show like a car chase in Jurassic World. Did you notice that?
No, that's great.
Where it's like, I mean, and I get it because she's
where she's going to go do the plan.
She's going to go do the plan, and I get it because she's supposed to be like racing, and like it's this dramatic shot that zooms out in the street and pulls ahead of her as she zips out there. And it's not a bad instinct to like give us, momentum and like, we're moving, but nothing else in the movie is like that.
Exactly. Like it really felt like he'd look at each scene and be like, well, this seems like a thriller scene, so I guess I'll shoot it like that. I guess
I'll do that.
And
yeah, exactly.
Just no consistency.
Yeah.
There's no like, it's not a slow thing. Like there's just tonal shifts, sudden.
It's whiplash.
Like the first time he looks through to the neighbor and sees like Dean Norris, and it just suddenly becomes a completely different movie all of a sudden. And you're like, it's complete fucking whiplash back and forth.
And there was the beginning of a really good idea there too, and he just doesn't really. It's like he doesn't figure it out, or he just thought there's a motif of like you don't ever see the abuse, which obviously why would you?
They show the reaction to it.
They show the reaction to it. It's not a bad instinct. It's
not a bad instinct, I was going to say. Yeah, but it is bad for a movie like this. Like you don't need to feel like you're watching 8mm all of a sudden. No. It's choose your fucking tone and start with it and keep like let the audience know what type of movie they're watching. Because that like is like shocking.
Yeah, when it happens very suddenly. Yeah. The thing I was talking about is there's a motif that he uses twice, I believe, but it's such a good idea and you really could have gotten more out of it. It's basically, the abuse is happening because a character will look down at the front window and see that Dean Norris is not sitting in his chair.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea.
Yep, you'd think that would go somewhere.
Yeah, that's all you need is that image. But like he either didn't figure it out or just didn't.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's yeah. I'm not gonna make any more excuses for Colin Trevorrow.
No, this is a bad script and then a director doing a bad job.
Yes.
And I've gone off on Colin Trevorrow, how I like going back on Jurassic World. Like you can watch those movies and compare, like look at very similar scenes that what Spielberg did, or hell, any director who just understands tension, and how Trevorrow didn't know how to shoot the scenes. He just didn't know how to shoot them. And so like it's just it's a director that got way in over his head immediately. Was able to find success because Jurassic World is a Jurassic Park sequel. And then I feel like Book of Henry goes back to prove like, yeah, he doesn't know the fundamentals, or at least he needs more time with them before you give them a movie like Jurassic World. But because Brad Bird was like, hey, I saw Safety Not Guaranteed. He's a white guy. Give him Jurassic Park. Like he just cut the line, and like this movie is a very frustrating proof of that, where it's like, yeah, this isn't a well-made movie. It's not a good script either.
No.
And I don't know whose fault any of it is. And even in Trevorrow's defense, maybe he was coming off because again, he was supposed to make this before Jurassic World, and I think he was probably like contractually tied to it somehow, maybe not. And then he was clearly going from this to Jurassic World 2, and maybe he was like, look, I'm just going to make this movie. And maybe he didn't care, which not a great defense. But maybe he just looked at the script and was like, yeah, that's great. Let's just shoot it. And didn't give it much thought.
I don't know, because he gave Jurassic World the exact same amount of thought.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like his ideas of filming are, well, can we see everything? Yeah. All right, then. It's fine.
Is it all evenly lit? Like, he doesn't light. Like, everything's just, it's like fucking an episode of, like, Star Trek. Everything's evenly lit.
Yep.
Everything's shot in the least interesting way.
It's exactly. It's it's just like, well, all
can we see it?
Yeah, can we see everything?
Yeah. And so like I really the tonal, this movie is so tone deaf. It's tone deaf. Like it doesn't know what it is or what it should be doing, on top of the fact that the dialogue is exhausting.
Yeah. And it's every beat is like so unbelievable.
Yes. And there's just little things too. I don't know, like the diner she works at, the guy mentions how the new payroll gal got her checks wrong. And it was like, I don't think the diner has like a payroll person, but like whatever. Maybe it does. Like little things, like the radio thing where it's like, oh, I guess he snuck out of the hospital. It's so sweaty. The principal is incredible. It's a real fart.
Man,
I wouldn't suggest.
It is the dustiest fart.
It is the dustiest fart. I wouldn't recommend it because it's not like, this isn't like watching Face Off, you know? Like it's not like, wow, this is so bad it's good. It's fascinating. You worded it well. It's if you're interested in movie making, watching this and trying to figure out what happened is fun, I would say.
Yeah, it's like watching Master of Disguise. It's like this does everything wrong.
It does everything wrong. Yeah,
it is quite fascinating to watch.
Right, and you can't quite figure out who failed. Again, I will say the people come out of this clean. The entire cast.
Yeah, it's fine. They're doing fine.
They're doing the best they can.
Yeah.
Both of the child actors, they're all everybody. They're all doing as good as they can with what they have. Mm-hmm. God, and she fucks the kid's brain doctor, right? Like they're fucking right.
I mean, I think that was a seed that they meant to plant, but didn't really.
Yeah. Remember the part where they show he's really good at checkers and therefore a genius?
Yep.
That was really funny. Now I'm just going through just random shit that happened in this, but
yeah.
She has a cool handshake. That's how they give the daughter some sort of development. Her and the mom have a cool handshake.
Yeah, they're just trying to establish that they have a relationship so that when she steals the child at the end of the movie, it's not weird.
Yeah.
This is the stupid. I hate this movie.
It's Yeah. I just scanned over my note that says, I've never been happier to see a child die in a film. I was really mad at the movie at that point.
Get that fucking kid out of here.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear him say any more genius lines. Again, the boy genius's plan is to buy a gun and shoot the guy.
Buy a gun. What a weird idea.
That's
Dean Norris just hearing whistles going out into the woods.
Yeah.
His plan was, I'll make a whistling sound and he'll come out into the woods. Sure thing.
Yeah, I'll whistle so he wanders out in the woods and then I can shoot him. It's like, and we see her. We see him taking notes on the bridge, and then that pays off later when we see that's where he was going to dump the gun. But it's like, where were you going to dump his body, Jimmy Neutron?
Yeah. Where was he going to dump the body? I assume it was maybe the same as the.
But how is his 11-year-old ass going to carry Dean Norris across town to a bridge?
That's why, again, this movie is so badly written. I thought it was going to be, I thought I gave it this much of the benefit of the doubt. It was like, oh, he lined it up so he could shoot him and then he'd naturally fall off the bridge.
I was thinking that too, yeah. That's because that's obvious, right?
That's not what it is either.
Nope.
Just shoot him in the woods and then, I don't know, bury him? Was the idea to always ask his mom? Because here's a question, Tom. How is he ever going to get the gun? He's 11.
Mm-hmm.
What was his plan?
It's another reason why the kid needed to be older. And maybe was initially. I don't know. But his original plan was to get that gun without his mom. Mm-hmm. By saying the word Dominic. I don't care how many times you say Dominic. That dude is not selling an 11-year-old a sniper rifle.
Yeah, and again, this is part of it is that it's not smart enough. So the kid's plan is dumb.
It's so
we're
dumb.
supposed to be
his plan
look
is to
how
buy
smart.
a gun.
Yeah,
really.
And
that's
they
your
keep
plan.
I don't think there's definitely pieces here. Maybe he wasn't originally a genius, and then maybe a producer was like, it's got to be like Ocean's 11, it's got to be he's got to be smart. So they added the Dominic thing or something because he could just. The Dominic thing is really dumb because it hinges on the gun store owner being so stupid that when you just say, I'm here, Dominic sent me, he doesn't call Dominic.
Yeah.
Or it's just so dumb.
Yeah, I mean the Columbine kids got guns through the mail, right?
There are ways for children to get guns.
For children to get guns.
And it's not this way.
It's just so fucking stupid that fucking Billy Quizboy here, his big idea is to buy a gun.
Yeah, you were like me where you
shoot Dean Norris in his backyard.
It doesn't take a genius to do this. It's a really ungenius plan. Yeah. That's the other thing is it's not no one will know. It's you're shooting someone in a neighborhood. You bought the gun. She bought the gun in broad daylight. Nothing, it can be traced to her.
Mm-hmm.
You're like me. You thought he was gonna Da Vinci in there with a flying machine and pick him up and drop him or something.
Yeah.
You thought he was gonna Home Alone this guy. And no, just a gun. Buy a gun in broad daylight, make a whistling sound, and shoot a man in his yard. Mm-hmm. That's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he a genius? Also, they have to do the thing where they make it really... They have to make it no one can help. But then at the end, when she confronts him, she's like, I'll go to the press or the FBI. And it's oh, yeah, you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
You could have done that this whole time.
Yeah, you really could have done that, yeah.
Yeah, it's not an impossible situation where the only solution is to kill him.
The solution happens because the principal just randomly decides to make the phone call that she inexplicably refused to make earlier in the film.
The phone call that I assume the mom could make at any time.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's the thing is that the way they make it is that his brother is Child Protective Services, and then they have these phone calls where you can hear this muffled voice there's just nothing we can do, and it's all you have to say is he's related to the Child Protective Services guy. We need another person in here. It's not a fucking impossible situation at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then the end, like you said, is the principal being oh wait, I could just do the thing. And they do it. This movie is terrible.
It's a bad movie.
Bad movie. Bad.
How dare... Bad movie. Bad.
Shame on you.
Stop it.
Are we done?
Stop
Are we done
it,
here?
movie. Oh, we're done. We've been done.
Mike, it makes me mad because it's one of those where it's, if you're anybody who's trying to write movies or just a writer, it's just like, come on, guys. How does this get made?
This really? Like, everyone saw this story and was like, yep.
Yep. This is the movie.
This is the movie. It's like, is it?
Yeah.
Is it a movie?
Yeah.
Oh, Dave. I want to be done, so let's tell them the things.
Okay, well, first I want to thank Harris. I genuinely want to thank Harris. Harris knew what Harris was doing when Harris told us to watch this, I assume.
Yeah,
I don't think Harris is
there's
like,
they
didn't like my favorite movie. No,
nobody likes this movie.
Harris wanted to hurt us.
Or, yeah.
In a fun way.
Yeah.
Fun hurt. No, I did. I'm like, you said to me, like, you were going to watch this eventually. So was I.
Yeah, it's the curiosity would have gotten me eventually. I needed to see this movie.
So thank you, Harris. Harris
Indeed,
did this
yes.
Through our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. There's exclusive podcasts on there like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons. That's the $10 tier. We watched like good movies for a change this time. We watched Annihilation.
That probably won't happen again for any time soon.
No.
No, we're gonna watch shit like the Book of Henry.
We might. I wouldn't discount the Book of Henry.
Yeah, no,
honestly.
I kind of want to make like some of our friends watch this movie.
Yeah, I kind of want them to see it.
Yeah.
So check out our Patreon. Also, you can make us watch movies on a certain tier.
Mm-hmm. We also have a store at tpublic.com/store/gamefullyunemployed where you get t-shirts, masks, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. So check that out if you would. Check it out.
Do it.
All right, let's be done. Let's be done with the. Let's close the Book of Henry.
Oh, slamming that Book of Henry. Here we go.